morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We are on Sweetheart Street this morning. So this is an upcoming product coming out from Kimberbell. It will be coming out next month, and they sent us sample files. So I thought I would give you a little sneak peek as to what that is going to look like. So good morning. We are going to stitch the Soda Crush block today. I looked at all of the blocks and I don't think there's anything that's like super hard. So I just picked one that I thought was super cute. Hi, Mom. And so I am going to basically just give you a sneak peek, and then we can talk about the product. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to do that. Good morning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. You'll get a secondary sneak peek today because I have the quilting file that I created going to be the background quilting that I use today. So you guys can see that a little bit. Hello, Miss Shirley. All right, so I am using my 7x12 magnetic hoop, which is made by Brother or Baby Lock, depending upon which one you got. And I have a no-show mesh standard in the hoop. I'm going to throw some batting in there. We'll throw some background, do some quilting, and then we'll build this really cute block. So all of the links for the product were in the email that I sent out last night. If you have any questions, you can just pop those in, or you can click on any of those as well. I will try to get the links put, at least the one link put in here so you guys can see that too. I'm going to switch here. Dun, da, da, da. So this is my fabrics that I've got. Everything is right except for this one. This one is substituted because it is a new fabric that's coming in, and that fabric hasn't been shipped yet, so I couldn't come up with that one. It's supposed to be a pink, like a houndstooth kind of thing. So a plaid, a pink on pink plaid. So this was the closest I could come in my fabrics to that one. So that will be slightly different than the final product. And the other substitution that I made, I did not have any open red felt, so I'm going to use a red piece of leather for my door. So those are the only things that aren't going to look exactly like the final, but it's going to be pretty dang close, I think, by the time we put all of the stuff on top of it. So to switch over and see what's going on over here, like I said, I have my magnetic hoop and I have the no-show mesh in here. I just have a regular white thread in. I am currently using Floriani because that's what was over here. You could use any white, literally. So good morning, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. Pardon? We are also going to use some glitter today. So I do have an iron turned on over here. So who knows whether it will still be hot when I need to use it, but I gave it a go. So we'll see how that turns out. So I'm going to completely cover up that line, which I know is super hard to see because it's white on white. But we're going to cover that guy up with batting, and we're going to tack that down. I'm literally using like leftover pieces that I found around the store today. So I did cut a few of the fabrics from the bolt, but most of this is scraps that I just came up with. I did have to cut the background fabric out. It's that really nice, simple white on white dot by Kimberbell. So that's going to be the background for the entire street. And it's going to be, I think, really, really cute. The fabrics that are coming in are absolutely darling. So I'm very excited to see how all of those come together. You know, it's one thing when you place the order, 6 months in advance, but it's a whole nother when you actually get to see it and cut it and play with it. There is a beautiful squares that build like larger squares, if you will. So it's kind of a cheater panel, and that is going to be the actual back of the pillow, and then it's in some of the 3-inch border pieces. I think they're 3, they might be 4, but the larger border at the top and the bottom of the pillow, that is really, really cute. And it's also coming in canvas, so if you wanted to, you could make some bags, little zippered pouches. And you can use canvas in the hoop as well. It doesn't have to be a sewing product. You can use that for zippered bags in the hoop, which would be absolutely darling, I think. So I'm really excited to see that one. And then it's going to be similar to the, I don't think these are my favorite scissors. I think somebody swapped my scissors. Well, they're my favorite type, but these are a little dull. But that's okay. We'll make do. Just find that sweet spot. It's all about sweet today, right? All right, almost there. So I know I say this every time we make a block, but this next step, if I were just at home, I would skip it because it's going to tell me where to place my fabric. And literally, it's just an outline around here. I am smart enough anyways to know where that's going to be. It's going to be a 1/4 inch right outside of there, but we'll go ahead and stitch it for everybody. Just, you know, if you're new and you don't have the vibe of how these all go, you know, it's definitely definitely nice to have all of those steps available for you. So but I definitely skip it at home. It's one less thing. It's a little less thread, a little less time, all of that good jazz. So I do skip that one. All right. So I have that beautiful white on white. I did put a fusible on the back. There's going to be a decent amount of stitching going into the house part. Well, I guess it's not the house. It's like a shop, but the building, we'll say the building. And it is definitely got a few stitches. So I just want to make sure everything lays really smoothly. So I am going to go ahead and use that. Most of the blocks are going to be the same way. You know, we kind of skipped that when we were doing the DDE this year, and everything worked out pretty well. And that's going to be just for a wall hanging. This is going to be for a pillow. So it's going to get washed a lot more than that wall hanging would. I just want to make sure that there's plenty of support for all of that. All right, so here comes the first sneak peek. This is my quilting. So if you happen to see any of the photos, theirs have like candy pieces in there, and then some of them you can choose from that one or words. I didn't do that. I did cute little lines with squiggles that loop into hearts. So it's white on white. So I'll hold it up to the this camera when we are done here so you can see it a little bit better. But this is the background quilting that I created for the pillow. So I think it turned out super cute. This is my first time seeing it stitched. I've seen it stitch on my computer screen many times, but I thought this was a lot of fun, and it kind of flowed with the heart theme. It also flowed with a street line, a little bit more simplistic, and so it's not as much going on, but it's, I think, really cute. So I did leave the stitch length fairly long because I don't like really tiny quilting stitches, and I was concerned that my hearts would look a little stiff, little edged instead of curved, but they seem to be doing really well, so that is really great news. Yay. So good morning. I see Jane and Diane. Thanks for joining us this morning. We are doing the quilting that I created for the Soda Crush block. This is what I didn't come up with a second one. I liked this. So this is the background quilting if you are doing that pre-order. So if you're new to Leabu and Kimberbell, we have an offer that if you pre-order one of her larger pieces, so either a wall hanging quilt, a ladder quilt, or a bench pillow, if you do the bundle and you do the pre-order, you get quilting files to finish that project out for free. Those files are available separately. If you missed out on a pre-order somewhere, you should be able to locate those files on our site if you would like those. But these, if we're still obviously in pre-order status, this is going to come out mid-November. And we're, of course, going to need to get that fabric in before we can get your kits out to you. But it's super cute. I read over the instructions for all of the different blocks last night, and I don't think it's going to be a complicated piece to put together, which is really nice. I love all of the crazy and fun embellishment stuff that Kimberbell throws in, but sometimes it just makes the blocks take, 2 hours to stitch. These should go together fairly quickly because there isn't a whole lot of crazy going on. And I don't mean crazy in a bad way. I mean in a fun way. But I like that this is maybe going to be one of the easier stitch outs that we've seen in a little while. We can always use a little break. I'm not sure if I got something on that or if that's just the light. A little spot on that fabric. I don't know. We'll pretend it's not there. Excuse me. So when I loaded this design, you load the quilting file in first, and then you bring in the block, or you can do them separately. But it's good to have them together because you want to put the bottom of your building at the bottom of this line, not the 1/4 inch line in, but the actual base. So you'll have some things actually in the seam allowance, which is going to give you a nice finished edge at the bottom. So I think that's going to turn out pretty good. The fabric that you'll be adding is just that fabric at the bottom. You'll have that thin border that goes first. And so that fabric will fold over. So you won't have to worry about actually folding in your felt and your satin stitches and things like that. The fabric will fold right over top of it. So I think it's going to work out really well. But you do want to pay attention to alignment. If you're not doing pre-quilting, then of course there is an actual alignment stitch in there. But the first thing is, let's see. Somehow I loaded that design twice. Isn't that funny? So the first stitch in the design is actually going to be a tick mark for if you are not doing pre-quilting. So I need to skip that stitch because I don't need it, but it's going to stitch the bottom line here with just a little center mark. So if you're not doing pre-quilting, you would fold your fabric per the instructions, basically in half, and then with a little edge line, and that's going to give you where to place your fabric, and then you would do a squaring stitch. So I'm going to skip that, and then I'm going to skip the squaring stitch because I've already done the pre-quilting. So that is the first piece that you're going to see. And we are going to have, they've kind of changed how they've done their instructions. I'm going to switch cameras here just for a second so you guys can see that. First of all, if you haven't seen this darling pillow, this is what is coming out. So it's in the same line as, for instance, the Halloween, the Christmas, we've had an Easter, the 4th of July. There's lots of other street pillows. So this is a street setup, and it's just so stinking cute. And it does have lights, so we'll have those markings for where to put those. I just wanted you to see that. But they have changed their directions just a wee bit. So this is pretty much the same. You got your layout information. So we're doing the soda cross. So I just went through and I highlighted anything that said soda crush to make sure I wasn't forgetting any pieces. So you can see there's some super cute fabrics that are coming. This is the one I was telling you about, the little bit of a cheater piece. It's absolutely adorable. And then your embellishments. And this is how they're doing their thread colors. So instead of the block being just the color, they're actually giving you what they recommend at the beginning of the instructions, and then they label them A, B, C, D, E. I don't know that I'm super fond of the ABC part because that doesn't mean anything to me when I get here and it says D. I just need to know what color to put there, right? So depending on how you lay your things out, you certainly can do that. It does show that you'll need a white bobbin. That's going to be on the first house in the street. It's got a sign. So that sign is basically a 3D piece, and you're going to edge that in white. You'll need a matching white bobbin for that one. But everything else is going to be just your standard embroidery bobbin. So that's what that symbol there means. So this is how that's all laying out. You need teals, greens, pinks, you know, all of those different ranges and things. But this is what this means. When it's telling me M, it means I need to put a gray in. So the box is gray, but it's not, it's just laid out a little differently. The letters kind of mess with me, to be perfectly honest. I don't know that I'm a fan of the letters, but the large color block is really nice. So I have a range of colors over here. I'm going to go with this guy here. It is number 107. It is part of our original thread kit. On my list of to-dos, good morning. Sorry I didn't see you pop in there. Is to kind of reorganize that thread kit and make one big list of all of the colors that are included, and maybe adjust what comes in the kit, because they have come out with new fabrics and they've made a few adjustments. So I just want to make sure it's still a viable thread kit. But that is on my to-do list, and Carol and I have talked about it a little bit. And Carolyn's, you know, my thread whisperer here, so she definitely can help me out with that. And I evidently don't remember my own trick. There we go, to thread this machine. All right, so I have the gray. It's just going to do this little sign, the hanging piece of the sign. That's what's going to come up first. And then we're going to do a little cup. So this is the soda crush. And so that means it's the soda shop, if you will. So we're going to make a little sign here. It's got just it's what's hanging the actual sign, and there's a cute little guy that goes on top of that. I did starch all of my applique pieces. I did not put any backing on anything. I don't recall it telling me to do that. Nope. So I think we should be good. And there's my cute little sign with that satin stitch. So again, I went through and I read through the different blocks trying to decide, you know, is there one that's a lot harder than another that I should do? This one actually has the most pieces of embellishment. So the felts, which I'm subbing vinyl, the glitter, the actual clear vinyl. So there's multiple pieces. And I was just going, oh dear, where did I put my clear vinyl? It's clear, so it's really hard to see, don't you know? But that is, so sorry. I think the most going on in any one block. So there's others that have vinyl, because of course there's other windows and things. But we're going to use this gray again in a little bit. Again, that was color 107. It could maybe be a little darker. I only had a couple that were open to choose from, so I just stuck with that. I am now threading with color number 442. Both of these are from the Exquisite line, which tends to be my go-to, especially because that's what our thread kit is in. All right. So we're going to do a quick little applique here. So the placement line is first. I just have to say that so far, I think that quilting looks really cute back there, if I do say so myself. I'll hold it up when I go over to the other camera. I haven't taken the machine out, or the machine out, listen to me, the hoop out of the machine yet. So I'm going to cover up that stitch, and I am going to just tack down some fabric here. Again, this is the sign off the side of the building. There'll also be a sign on the building. This is actually the drive-through sign, which just tickles me. I think it's adorable. So I need to trim that. So we're going to switch cameras over here. Hopefully I won't miss switching a camera today like I did last time. You know, it's the little things in life. So we're going to grab this guy here. And this kind of has pink and teal themes to it. So there is that quilting. I think that shows up fairly well at that angle. So, and then it's just repeated. So the double line of heart there is repeated right there. So, and then it just keeps going. But those are the quilting stitches that I came up with. I thought that was really cute. We're going to do this little drive-through sign. So we've got our applique all set there. And now we are going to do the satin stitch that goes around that. So sorry, pardon me. I just love a good satin stitch. I've never quite gotten over the love of that satin stitch. I always, and look at me, I didn't do the camera again. Ha. There we go. But look at that beautiful satin stitch. Right after saying, I'm going to try not to forget the camera, I still forget the camera. All right, so pretty straightforward there. Our next piece is going to be the house. So again, I did substitute that fabric. And so I have this cute little print here. I haven't quite decided. I think I'm going to go lighter instead of darker. So I'm going to go with that lighter pink, I think. I think that's a good one. One other choice. Let's see. What did that look like? Nope, I think that one. Okay. So that's my super secret way of selecting threads. I literally put them on the fabric and see what I like. Not very secret, is it? All right, so we are going to do one more applique. So I just need to thread in. I am now using color number 302. This is also in our original kit of threads. And if any of you out there have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, we have done a Kimberbell chosen thread kit. So rather than having a new thread kit for every project that she releases, it got to be where a lot of those colors were repeating. So if you bought the thread kit, you got another spool of the same color that you'd been using for something else, that kind of thing. So you ended up with, you know, multiples, like 3, 4, sometimes more of the same color. For instance, that 442 or whatever that, you know, matches something very, very well. And so it would be in all of her different quilts. So it would be in all of the quilt kits because you would need it to do that quilt. So we came up with the idea of building a thread kit for Kimberbell fabric instead of from pattern to pattern, because we thought it got to be a little bit excessive on that front. All right, so where's my line? Got a little selvage down here, so I want to make sure I'm not stitching into that. All right, we're going to completely cover that up and then tack that down. So that, I believe, came with 33 spools. And again, they weren't to any specific project. They go to Kimberbell fabric because she has a basic line of fabric that is used in all of her patterns. And then she has specialty fabrics that are released that go with just this pattern or that pattern, that kind of thing. So then we would add in colors needed for those specialty fabrics and that kind of thing. They have, since we created that, removed some basics, added in some new basics, obviously come out with some new colors. So I would like to kind of go through there, make sure everything is still a viable color, and then get a better list instead of having to pull all of the different lists. Pull one list and then maybe code that specialty color with and you know, like have like a key that says this was from this one and it's got, you know, the letters CC next to it because it was from Candy Corn Quilt Shop, or I don't know, but something like that instead of having to have like 10 different lists to know what colors are there. So why buy the thread kit? It's because you can refill that thread kit at a discount, and any color that we add that's a specialty color, you can also add at a discount. So it's definitely beneficial. You don't get that super secret code unless you buy that thread. So it's kind of like a thread club, I guess, more than a thread kit. It just has a starting piece, and we've got a lot of people that have gone that route, and it's definitely, I think, been a smart way to go, just because you aren't rebuying so many colors. So it was a nice thing. So I do want to try to get that refreshed. So, all right, there's going to be our shop that's supposed to be kind of gridded, so it looks a little bit more like brick or something, but we don't have that. We actually have little flowers, so I'm sure it'll still be super cute. We are back over at the machine, and we are now going to do the satin stitch outlines. Should just go on the sides here. So lots of fuzzies today. Good morning, Cheryl. Thanks for joining. About halfway there. No way to speed that up, is there? But still, pretty straightforward what we got going on. Nothing too crazy. I did not get a red thread. Let's see what we got to go with that. I'm assuming I need red thread for the door. Yeah, those are not red. Doop, doop, doo, 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 doo. Miss Carolyn? I forgot one more thread. Can I get some red? 3015, that doesn't matter. Whatever's good. Thank you. And back up the other side. The little things, I tell you. My box is not as full as it needs to be. What I was just telling everybody at home, that's on our list, is to go through that kit and refresh it. And we so Cheryl's asking if we have the fabric kit for this bench pillow. We will, but not yet, because there are still some fabrics that are not available. What this is supposed to be, for instance, there is a entirely new fabric line that they released that has candies and cupcakes and all kinds of cuteness going on. So that particular fabric line has not been delivered yet. So we have got the cut list out, and we're getting things, making sure we have all of the fabrics on order that we do need. But the fabric kits are not ready yet. The pillow itself is not going to be released yet until like mid-November. So we still have a little bit of time on that. So not quite there yet, no. But we will as soon as we have the fabrics here. Our next piece is going to be a window here. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that started. So this is a creamy white, so it's slightly, just slightly deeper than the actual, you know what, we're going to, I think this one would have benefited from a fusible. So I'm just gonna double up my fabric so that you don't see that pink fabric shining through there quite so much. It is going to be outlined by dark teal, so I didn't change my thread yet because I didn't really need to yet. All right, so I'm going to trim that away, and then I am going to change my thread color. The teal color that I'm going to use is 907. So I need to trim that fabric and change some thread. And I need to oil the chair I'm sitting in because it is extremely squeaky. Holy crow. All right, so we have a little window happening down there. And again, that's got just a little bit of cream color to it. And we're going to change threads to number 907. I may have to switch chairs. I hope you guys can't hear that. It's quite obnoxious. So to extend out Cheryl's question a little bit, we do have the pre-order available for that on our website. It was in the email that I sent out last night, and I will pop in the link so that you guys can find that. This is just the window piece here. Oh, wow, what a difference. The little things. Oh, that's super cute. You guys probably have heard maybe somewhere along the lines that I am not a huge pink fan, but I will say when you put it next to teal, which I do really like, it's a lot better. Excuse me. So that is a candle wicking stitch on the sides anyways. Yep. There we go. That's got like a decorative fill in that one. All right, well that is finishing. I'm going to hop over here. Yeah, there you go. I will hold that up to the camera that I just changed. I had changed my screen so I couldn't see that, of course, because I was looking for this link so you guys would have that here as well. So this is if you wanted to go see the different bits. We do have a bundle deposit available, and there is also a individual pieces. So if you just want the designs or you just want the embellishment kit, however it is, you can get all those different bits. So you can do a bundle paid in full, a bundle deposit. Again, either the deposit or the full bundle will get a 10% discount off the whole thing, and then also receive the quilting files for free as long as it's pre-ordered. So, okay, I apologize about the camera. I'm going to switch it back again, and I'm going to hold that window up just so that you can see it a little clearer. So it's got a candle wicking stitch here. These are satin stitches, and then these are a decorative fill. So it's kind of an interesting conglomerate of stitches there, but it looks really cute. We're going to put vinyl over top of that. So I'm going to leave that teal thread in. All right, and I am going to just cover that with vinyl right now. You can, of course, tape this down. You know my love of tape. I'm not going to do that. But you certainly can if you don't want to have your hands in here. All right, we are going to leave that teal thread in for a little bit. I need to trim away around the outside square there. And our next piece is going to be the main sign on the building itself. So let's get rid of vinyl. This is raw edge, so however you trim it, that's going to be there. I like to try to get it pretty close. That's just me. Your piece would not be quite this large. Mine is just a scrap that I found in a bin. So you wouldn't need this large of a piece, obviously, and have as much waste as I'm going to have. But I will probably throw the other half of this back in that same bin, use it for the next window I need, right? So we'll save that little guy there. All right, so we've got some shiny windows. Super cute. There you go. Next thing we're going to do is the sign up here at the top, and that is going to be in white glitter. So heat transfer white glitter, and then we're going to do a trim out in that teal as well. And I don't know if you can see here, but there's little circles there. Those are going to be for lights. So we don't need to worry about that right now. But when you're actually finished and you have everything put together, you're going to have that opportunity to put fairy lights in there. Something some people do instead is they'll put a little rhinestone in that space instead if they don't want to do the lights, but they still want a little bit of pop in that, and, you know, not have weird circles that don't have any reason for laying around. So a lot of people will like to substitute those lights with some like an iron-on or a glue-on rhinestone. All right. So this is super quick, this part anyway. We're going to cover that with glitter vinyl. If you've never used this product before, it comes with a plastic top. You can see that shiny there. We need to peel that off before we use it. I like to save that because I do like to iron my glitter in before I do the decorative stitching. Unless I want it to look like snow so it has puffy spots on purpose, I don't like to have the little puffy spots. So the pressing of that down makes that work. So I peel this apart, but I save this because you don't want your iron to have that directly to that. So you want to cover that back up before you press it. So that's why I saved that piece. So this is glitter vinyl. We're going to tack that down. Again, I'm still in teal thread. And I keep saying I need to change out my watch band. And I do need to do that because it's magnetic. And I'm currently stuck to the bottom of this hoop. Little maneuver in there. Lots of little dips in. So those little dips are where those lights are going to go. There are multiple different hole punch options out there to punch the holes if you do want to do the lights. My favorite is absolutely the OESD. It works phenomenal. It's got multiple size circles. The current version, you pop the lid off. The different tools sizes are right in the lid, so you don't even have to find them later on. It's always the challenge, right? When you have a different size piece, but you don't know where it is. So you can cut or you can tear. Tearing is definitely quicker. Sometimes when you've got little spots like that, it doesn't tear really, really well. You can always go back and clean that up with trimming scissors, like your snips or something like that. So this is going to have a decorative edge on it, so I don't have to worry too much if I've got a little bit, but I'm going to try to get that little piece out of there so that my light later on could fit, and this is definitely too big for my liking. So at this point, before I do anything, I do recommend that you fuse that. It does have a step for that in the directions. It literally says right here, trim close, and then using a pressing cloth, press that glitter. I'm not going to use a pressing cloth. I'm going to use that little piece of plastic that I took off of it in the first place. Hopefully my iron is hot. Sometimes they turn themselves off. If I press before trimming, I'm going to end up with glitter all out here. So make sure that you trim first. And then, like I said, I just put this piece right on top. You can see it's oversized, so my iron is not going to hit that. And we're just going to fuse that in place. Yay, the iron is still hot. About 15 seconds. The one thing to look out for on that one, you do have that vinyl on the window. You do not want to hit that with the iron, even covered up. You can get foggy spots on that, and we really don't want that to happen. So back at the machine, I've got that fused in place. I'm going to give it just a second to cool down before I stitch. Otherwise, that glue is still squishy and can move things around. And the sign outline is what's next. After that is the eyelet details. Those are two separate color stops. You can choose whether you want your eyelets to be a different color if you want. I'm going to leave them in the teal for a couple reasons. One, that's one less color change that I have to come up with. And two, I think that the uniformity will look really good, but you could change that into the like white or something like that to help the light accent a little bit more if you wanted to do that. But it is two separate color stops, so you do have that choice if you would like to swap that out or not. So there's some of that decorative stitching going around there. And then again, one more color stop. So the embellishment kit will include some really cute decorative buttons, which is not abnormal. That is a very common thing for the embellishment kits, that they have specific buttons made for the different pieces. One of those buttons is the drive-through sign that's going to be right here. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love glitter vinyl. It's one of my favorite things. It's just, I love to use it for t-shirts and like actual cutting it out into different shapes. And I love using it as applique. It just adds so much. But the buttons, they do give you the option of actually stitching those pieces. So if you one, decide, you know, I'm not going to spend the extra money, and you had a lot of scraps of this kind of thing, then you don't want those buttons, you can stitch them instead. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that out just so that you guys can see what it is. I don't have an embellishment kit yet. And because this isn't the right fabric, I would probably restitch this for my sample pillow itself, but we'll see. I actually kind of like it, so we'll see how it blends in with everything else once we get the other fabrics in. But the buttons are super cute. You can sew the button right on top, so you could stitch it if you're not sure, and then you could technically put the button on top of whatever it is that you're stitching, in this case, the drive-through sign. But you can kind of make that decision on your own. I think if you're going to use the buttons, skip the stitch. Don't add in that extra thread, because then you would have a shadow behind your button, and it might not look quite like you wanted. Or if your button turned a little bit, you'd have a little difference there. So we are about halfway through these little eyelets. The reason that I'm bringing up that button is because the next stitch is that sign. It is also in this dark teal. It's one of those accent color things here. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that because I don't have any buttons. So in that way you guys can see what it would look like finished completely. It does say, while that's pop, I'm going to just switch real quick. It does say literally right in the directions. So we talked about the heating. This is your iron, or it's supposed to be anyways. They're telling you to fuse that, to cut and then fuse. And it does give you the directions. It's like about 15 seconds is pretty good. All right. And then we did the outline, and now we're doing those circles. The next step, it very, very clearly says, if you plan to attach the button, skip this step and go to the next one. So I am going to go ahead and stitch that, but just pointing that out, it does very clearly, if you're following the directions, it is very clearly stated to skip what section if you are doing the button. So we're going to do that one in teal, and then we're going to do the straw and the lid in teal as well. And then I'm going to switch to red. So there is a few bit of stitching left. So I'm going to probably run over just a little bit. Love for you to hang out, but I'm just giving you that heads up, is it will probably run over, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes-ish, something like that. So again, this is a couple minutes I could not stitch, but it's not going to look right without the button. So we are going to now stitch that sign fill, and that's going to take a couple of minutes. So yeah. So anybody get totally drenched in the rain yesterday? It got like almost black here. It got so dark, and then it dumped, and then it got a lot better. But we had like the river going down the parking lot to get out of here. It was crazy how much water came down in a short period of time. Lots and lots of water, but we needed it, right? But does anybody else just love it when it gets just a little bit colder? So we're not in the 70s anymore. We're in the 50s, right? Upper 50s for the most part, but 50s. And then it rains. How many of you have like the body aches from double hockey sticks? Because that rain and cold together just make everything hurt, don't they? It's just not fun. So this has just another minute. I'm going to grab a drink because I keep coughing in everybody's ears. I'm sure it will shock you. It's all Mountain Dew, of course. Everything hurts. It's not just me. I feel so much better. I mean, I realize I am getting older. My birthday is actually coming up. It's funny because I'm like, I just turned 50, and I'm like, no, that was a year ago. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't remember ever hurting as bad as I hurt yesterday. Like just full body ache of everything. It was like every joint that has ever given me an issue decided to come and say hello yesterday. It's very odd and not fun, right? Nobody enjoys that. All right, one more thing in teal we're going to pop up here, and then we're going to switch colors. And again, if you just popped in or anything, we are using color 907. I think it's a beautiful teal and it goes with all of this really well. There are definitely other options that you could choose. That is one of the things that I do like how she writes the instructions. She doesn't say, you know, they do give you the glide information, and they do have glide thread sets that are available. We obviously don't sell glide here, so that doesn't work for us. But they do give you that. But it doesn't say you have to use color number, yada, 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 on each different step. It's kind of a nice that they don't specifically say that. In other ways, it takes some of the guesswork out. If you are a little bit newer, it can be very overwhelming to try to choose all of the threads. But the wonderful thing about this is you just look at the fabric and say this matches, that matches, or nope, that doesn't match, or whatever. And you've got a lot of flexibility with what you can choose. So, all right. So we are getting ready for Novi here. It is coming right up. Do any of you guys have plans to go? We are, of course, going to be the brother dealer there. That hasn't changed. It's been that way for, oh, I don't know, since the flood or something like that. So we've got some decorative stitching that is going to be here. I'm just going to keep stitching so it keeps moving. We've got a couple lines and then the words in the sign itself. So the the show is early this year. It is November 6th, 7, and 8. So the layout that they sent us actually looks a little different than normal, which I'm not really sure. I need to give the guy that runs it a call. I've got a couple questions for him anyways. Wonderful. Well, make sure you stop and say hello. We are not usually up front because we don't do a classroom. It's just a lot. I don't have the staff to do both the booth and a classroom. So unfortunately, we don't do a classroom there. But we have a couple different things that we're hoping to do in the booth. And our Maywood rep is actually going to be pit stopping in our booth. She's doing some presentations, and so she's going to be in the booth able to answer some questions. She's got some samples of some fabrics that we have coming. We're going to make a really cute quilt kit. I think it's spring next year when that fabric comes out. So she'll have some samples there. You can stop and check that out too. But it's a totally different time frame. It's like a whole week earlier than it has been in the past. So it's, again, it's the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th of November. So it's coming right up. And it almost looks like we're in a different like section of the center. We've been in the same basic booth area for as long as I've been going. And the layout that they sent us doesn't look anything like that room. So I'm not sure if they sent me the wrong one or if we are literally in a different section. So like swapped from where the other conventions are, or that kind of thing. But I have heard that there are more vendors this year than have been in the past, which is kind of cool. You can look up the vendors list and they do keep adding in. So the vendors list is getting bigger, which is always fun. It gives you more opportunity. It's funny how many people are like, yeah, but the fudge vendor is going to be there, right? Yes, the fudge vendor is going to be there, so you can get your fudge. So here's the sign. It's going to say that Soda Crush in that beautiful red. So it's a really nice pop of color in there. And from there, we are actually going to switch to white and do some fill stitching and some gray. So I thought maybe we'd do the door, but there's some decorative tile stitching like along here. Oh, well, that's fun. I really thought I had enough bobbin to do this whole thing, but I guess I don't. So one of the things that I really like about our top of the line machines is we have the ability, I don't know if you noticed that it reinforced, so I can reinforce my stitch before I cut my thread to change out my bobbin. which I find very comforting because I don't have to worry about there being a loose thread in there. And so I know that I'm tied in and it's not going to unravel because I had to cut my thread in the middle of a stitch, which is super nice. Sorry about that delay there. If any of you use the pre-wound bobbins, which is what I just popped in there, this is the brand that we actually like. It is Steady Stitch, and we get these from Dime, which is now Dime by OESD. These are one, they're pretty full, so that's really nice. You get a little extra on there. And the thing with the pre-wounds, and a lot of people I think don't necessarily do that, is you have to throw them away. So this piece here, I can't rewind this. Well, I mean, technically I could rewind it, but they do break, and you do not want it to break in the middle of stitching. So pre-wounds, even though you have all of these bobbins and they look just fine, these are not intended for multiple uses. You do need to throw this in the trash. Which I know for a lot of us is a very difficult thing, but please make sure that you do that. I have to agree. I absolutely love how the red looks. It just really pops off of there. It looks really, really good. So thank you. I totally agree. And thank you so much. I really enjoyed doing them. I've been doing most of the quilting. Sarah would pitch in on something. She started it, and then we split it, and then it kind of turned into, I really liked it, and I don't know that she necessarily did, so I just kept going with it. We talk about ideas, and, you know, I wouldn't have to come up with everything on my own, but I think I'm going to probably next week, but if not next week, well, it'll probably be next week, but we'll see. I think I'm actually going to show you how I do that as my live. I'm going to pop in some software and show how the stitches I get and how I do that and how I change things and all of that good stuff. So there's lots of opportunity in software to do lots of things. It's not severely difficult by any stretch of the imagination. It's just the time. The hard part for me is coming up with what to do. So for this pillow, I have the quilting sections here done, and I have then the 1-inch border that goes at the top and the bottom of that done. But I don't have the 3-inch piece. And so I was talking, Melissa was here for class the other day, and we were talking and maybe doing like the balloons that are on the end cap of that, maybe popping in some different balloons and having it travel along the bottom, that kind of thing. So hearts and circles and different things like that, and doing balloons. But that's the hard part, is what am I gonna, you know, drawing it, I don't draw, I trace. So I have to find an image that I can use somewhere on the internet, and then I bring that in and trace it. But okay, this is some of the decorative tiles along the bottom. Like I said, I'm just gonna keep moving because I don't want to take over as much anymore than I have to. It says I've got about 14 minutes of stitching left, so we're definitely going to be at 15 minutes over time, and I apologize about that. These blocks definitely don't go super, super fast. So, aw, thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. Like I said, I really enjoy them. Some of them, I really like the Kimberbell one, and I'll throw in some Kimberbell, some of mine, and, you know, toss them back and forth. But a lot of times I don't necessarily, I don't like all of them, but that's, you know, you don't have to like all of mine either. So that's very fair. But thank you. I really enjoy doing it. It was fun. You know, we did the actual penguins, and I made, I figured it out, but thank you. So, but they're telling me that they really liked my designs for Enchanted Winter. I don't know if you guys are reading the comments, but I definitely appreciate those. It always is nice to know people like them versus just I like them, that I'm not totally out there. So, but yeah, so it's a lot of fun to do. And I think Hayden gave me that suggestion a couple weeks ago, and I think that I'm gonna kind of maybe do one live. So maybe I won't. I'll just come up with my ideas and get my stuff prepped, and then I'll actually design that border for you guys live, and you can see how that all goes together and things like that. So um, this is really cute. It's going to be gray and white, like checkered tiles at the bottom of the building. So kind of like a, there's a word for that, and I'm drawing like the facade at the bottom. You don't always, it's kind of a lot of times it's cement outside or whatever. So these aren't necessarily cement, but that's what we're doing here is making the checkered tiles for the outside. So we'll switch to gray as soon as this is done. So yeah, I think that's probably going to be next week unless I come up with something different. But that's probably, like, I was going to do it this week, and then I thought, let's do a tile, or excuse me, a block from this pillow. It is really, really cute. I don't think the picture that is online does this justice at all. So that's why I wanted to actually show something stitched out so you guys could see. There's a lot of detail. I don't think that it's hard blocks, which sometimes they actually have, a lot going on and they're actually hard and complicated and you have to do multiple hoopings for like everything. And it's not that, it's just, but they're just really, really cute. And typically, the photo doesn't show you how cute something actually is. But this one, I think for sure, it's so much cuter actually in thread and fabric versus just a flat image that's artwork versus an actual stitched out piece. So the link is back in the comments if you want to go check that out on our website. We are coming up. It's not that far away. I can't believe we're already at the end of October. It's just this entire year has just absolutely flown by. So we are coming up. I mean, we're in the almost mid-20s at this point. It's the 22nd, which is crazy. And it's going to be November before we know it. So right after Novi is when we'll be hopefully finishing all of the kits up and getting things ready to go out. So it's coming right up, which is why I switched. I wanted you guys to see this so that you could see how cute it actually is before it was too late to get in on the pre-order stuff. So is the fabric going to draw up if you don't tape it? So this is actually, if you're talking about right here, you can see it's pulling just a little bit here. This whole bottom 1/4 inch is actually going to be in the seam allowance. So this is going to be the cut line where you see that stitch line right there. That is the cut line. And this will actually be in the seam allowance. And I think, good morning, Karen. I think that it's not going to be a concern being in that seam because that border you'll be able to flip and sew, so you don't even have to fold that. So I don't think it will be an issue. I don't think it'll be an issue at all. So we're gonna real quick change that thread and keep this sucker moving so that we don't take any more of your morning up than needed. Again, I had a extremely dark gray and I had this kind of medium gray in my kit here, and I did not take the time to run around and find a bunch of different ones. This could maybe be a smidge darker, but I actually think it's going to be pretty good. We'll see. Same gray that I used on the hanging sign. This is number 107. All right, let's see what you guys are saying there. Love the window detail and that they're adding cute new stitching details. I really love all of these fills. There's a lot of decorative fills in here that really give a different look. So it almost looks like you've got, fabrics and things that are going on in there instead of just a straight satin stitch or standard fill. That's very cute. And this is not the only place that it's being used in this project. So I'm really excited. It's a very simple way to add a lot of detail into something without adding a ton of stitches, which is really cool. So if I did not answer your question about that fabric pulling up, please let me know. But I don't think anything's going to be an issue. As I mentioned early on, I did put a fusible on the back of this. So because of all of these fill stitches that are in there, that's why I put the fusible on. I don't necessarily think you have to do that all of the time. If you watched any of our DDE Wallflower mystery quilts, we did not put fusible on the back of those blocks. We just let the batting be our extra support, and that seemed to work for everything in there. I don't think that this particular project is a don't fuse on your backgrounds. I think you need that extra support on there. So thank you so much. I'm glad I answered your question, and I appreciate the vote of confidence on the stitches. You know, it's funny when you're doing stuff like that, and, you know, a lot of times I don't do them here. I end up doing them at home, either in front of the TV or sitting at the dining room table or whatever. And, you know, I'm sitting there all by myself, and I'm like, okay, am I tired and loopy, and that's why I think this is cute, or is it really cute, or did I mess that one up? Speaking of the Enchanted Winter designs, so I did like really, I thought cute fill stitch into those quilted corner, the two corner blocks that have the four pieces. And I realized when we were doing our sample that I did not put a batting square in. So I'm going to try to fix that today. And if you got our Enchanted Winter designs, I'm going to upload a new set of files that have that corrected in there so that it will stitch out with batting and then the pieced block and then the quilting. So I apologize. I thought I had done that. It's one of those midnight thought you did something and didn't evidently. So I apologize on that. You will get a fresh download for that, and that's what you're going to see the difference in. She didn't mention that anything else was messed up, so hopefully nothing else had any weird things on there. But if you are stitching that already and you don't have the time to wait for me to send that out, you could pull in your 4x4 heart block, do the batting lines, skip the heart stitching, and then just do the corner block, and that would give you your batting lines. But that is basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to combine those two and then delete the hearts and then send that back out. So you can certainly do that on your own pretty simply. Just skip the heart stitches and then move forward in the piece. So, all right. I am now going to do, this just seems, okay, placement line for the roof. All right, and we have this, it's a little bit, like I said, this gray part down here could be just a little bit darker. I think this is the gray fabric. The other one that I had available and open, easy to grab, was way too dark in my opinion, but you could have a little bit darker gray than what I'm using, but I actually think this looks pretty good. So we're just going to cover that guy up. My piece is way oversized. I was, like I said, using some scraps and things that I found. So I think this gray looks really good with this fabric. The only reason I would make it darker is so that the tile stitching that we just did, those fills at the bottom down here, would be just a hair darker. Oh, hi, Kathy. I was wondering who I was talking to. Well, I am glad that you are loving it. As far as just using it for embroidery, you certainly can. And I know that there are quite a few customers that do that. I need to trim this piece, so I'm going to just pop over here real quick, and I will try to remember to look at the screen and make sure I have the right camera up before I start stitching again. But the sewing aspects of your luminaire are truly amazing. And so if you would like some information on how to use any of those, you know, you can just reach out. I'm really glad that you're enjoying it, though. The Luminaire is a beautiful machine. I am currently stitching on the Radiance, which is the new top of the line, the Baby Lock. We have both the Baby Lock and the Avenir here on the floor, so you could see either of them if you're interested. The Brothers Holiday Gift Guide begins on November 1st. And of course, we will have some specials for Novi and things like that too. So it's a great time to look at a machine. I absolutely love the Luminaire. So I'm not telling you personally that you should change because you just got that machine. But just letting you guys know there are some really great options. And this, as you can see, is stitching absolutely beautifully. We are, I know that there was some bad rap information out there. They released this before it was ready, both of the machines before it was ready. And then they've been doing updates after update after update to get everything online and where it should have been a year ago. We are where we should have been a year ago. The machines are working beautifully. They have so many features in them. They are absolutely stunning machines. So if you've been thinking about that, it's a great time to come in and check it out with the holiday gift guide and Novi coming up. We definitely have some really great deals available. So, all right. So that looks really good on that roof line. Like I said, the only reason I would do something darker is for those tiles at the bottom, but I think it's just fine. And again, this is number 107. The last thing that we really have left is that door. And interestingly enough, they want me to do that in white. All right, so we're going to have a white outline on our door, and then we're going to stitch the drive-through words in here. So that is all that's left. We're going to change back to our white thread. We're going to do the door, and again, this is supposed to be in red felt. I am using red leather because I didn't have any felts open, and I personally didn't have time to go find it. If you get the embellishment kit, it will, of course, be in there, so you won't have to worry about that. All right, so white thread going in. Doesn't matter what white. As far as this project is concerned, white is white. This is 800 from Floriani, so true white. But again, it could be, 801 or 10 or 15 or whatever you wanted it to be. So we're going to do that placement line for the door. All right. Does the new brother have a camera? Yes, it does. And it also has the projector, which the Luminaire has. The I'm just going to completely cover that up. I don't have an oversized piece here, so I want to make sure I'm getting everything there. The Luminaire and the Solaris have a camera and a projector in them. So the camera takes what's in your hoop and puts it on your screen. The projector takes what's on your screen and projects it into the hoop, which is wicked cool. And one of my favorite features, I use the projector all of the time. Not so much when I'm doing projects like this, because I don't need to do any alignment or anything like that. But when you have to align something, you're putting it on a shirt or whatever that happens to be, it does make a huge difference if you are where you want to be. And that projector and camera combo thing gives you so many options for making sure that it's in the exact place you want it before you ever put your needle and thread into your project. So you're going to get what you want out of it, which is just really nice and comforting. So that's the camera and the projector. And again, that's on the Luminaire and the Solaris. They kept the camera for the Avenir and the Radiance. And they kept the projector, but they upgraded the projector, and they upgraded it really big. And I literally mean really big because they made it the field here bigger. So what we had on the Luminaire and the Solaris was an index card. We had a 3x5 rectangle, and we could move that rectangle anywhere we wanted so we can see any section. So this is going to do satin stitch around here in the doorknob. All right. And so that 3x5 card, if you will, we could move and see everywhere in our hoop, but we could only see that 3x5 field at the time, which, being the first one out in the industry, that was wicked cool and blew everybody away. It was great. We could move it. We could see everything. So it was really great. But those of us who are ornery and have to be, a little finicky about what we get, I wanted a bigger box. I want to see more, right? So that's what they did. We now have a 5x8. So half of a piece of paper, you can see an entire 5x7 design in the hoop. It's just crazy and it's beautiful. And again, it's true size and true color. So again, you know exactly where something is going to stitch, what it's going to look like, and all that good stuff before you've ever start. So the projectors are so great. The cameras are so wonderful. Let's see. So we answered the camera question. Vinyl scares me. So I guess what kind of vinyl? Like the window vinyl or like the faux leather vinyl? You are, of course, very welcome. I love doing this. This is so much fun for me. So I have no problem doing this kind of thing. I will say the wall behind me looks scarily bare. We took down the quilt, so we're packing stuff up to go to Novi, and boy, does that look blank there. That is just crazy. So this kind of vinyl, the only reason that this should scare you is it comes usually with a paper backing or like a tissue. You have to remember to take that off, otherwise you have a film on there. And the trimming of it can be hard. So I don't know if you noticed, I fold my edges in, so I already get kind of a crease happening before I've even started. And I find that to be a lot easier for cutting this type of thing. If we're talking the iron-on up at the top, I absolutely love it. And it works so very, very, very well in so many different things. What you want to remember is if you want it to have a little poof, so looking like snow puffs on a roof instead of a super flat sign that should supposed to be like a wood or something like that, then you absolutely either want to iron or not iron, and you should do that intentionally. The pressing that in place is going to keep it nice and flat and smooth. And if you put a lot of stitches in it, it can actually perforate the vinyl because it's not that thick, and all of those needle punctures can actually tear that. This is going to be the letters here. And so you do definitely want to iron those pieces in place so that you don't have any puffing where you don't want it. So I don't want to have a big puff in between my letters and inside my O and that kind of thing. So I definitely wanted to press this particular one. If you're talking about leather, which again, I substituted this. This was supposed to be felt. This was just the only red that I had quickly available. This one, a lot of times, is going to be a raw edge applique if you're actually using it as a vinyl. And felt is often a raw edge as well. They just happen to have a nice, beautiful satin stitch, which I love the satin stitches. But that is a lot of times a raw edge piece. That can be difficult because it's really easy to see your scissor marks if you're not very careful. So this one can be difficult because you can see scissor marks, and if you're not a really good applique trimmer, then that can be problematic. If you pre-cut this, you would need to make it a little bit bigger in general because it would be a raw edge applique and you would need it to be a little bit oversized for your stitch to catch. This one is, I find, very, very easy to stitch with. There are definitely different thicknesses of vinyl. I only use this when you want something to be shiny or, you know, like window-esque or, you know, like cars or that kind of thing. I don't use this type of vinyl that often unless it's literally in a project like this. The only time I'm going to add it in is if I wanted to add shine somewhere. The only thing I don't like about this is it has kind of a rough edge when you cut it. So from a pillow perspective, I wouldn't want to put my face on that. So that would not feel real good on your cheek kind of thing. So that's the only thing I don't like about this vinyl. But sometimes you get a stitch that covers it, but not very often. Usually it's just a raw edge piece. I think the easiest one is going to be your heat transfer because you can rip it, you can cut it, you can have it be raw edge, you can have it be with a decorative edge, and you can choose whether you want to fuse it or not fuse it. So I think that one personally is the easiest and my favorite probably. So that is the last piece. And again, if you, I take that back. Hang on. What do we got? Let's turn the page. Bubble details. Oh, there's a little extra white something here. So we're going to just add a little bit of bubbles, I guess. Couple circles. So the drive-through letters here, if you were doing the button, of course, you wouldn't stitch those either because you wouldn't have the sign there. So just going to be, I think, 4, 2 at the bottom and 2 up at the top. And that literally is the end of this block. So that will finish out our beautiful Soda Crush block. And I just have to say, actually having it stitched is so much better than the picture. So I hope this helped you guys see if it was something that you want to do. And I think it came out absolutely darling. If you guys have any questions, you know you can always call and ask. I'm here at the store all the time, so just give me a buzz if you have a question, and I will be happy to talk about whatever you have need of. So thank you so much for joining me. This is, again, the Sweetheart Street Bench Pillow by Kimberbell. And I think it's going to be a really great addition if you have those other bench pillow streets or any of them. It doesn't have to be a street one, but it's going to be a great addition to swap out for that time of year. So thanks again for joining me. I will see you guys next time, and we'll talk about how to do that quilting in your software. See you guys then. Bye.